What if I told you the market was never built to make you rich? Not for you, not for me, not for the millions who sit in front of screens each morning hoping today is the day everything changes. No, it was built to reward patience and punish emotion. Behind every blinking chart, behind every social media guru, behind every get rich quick promise, there's something most traders never see: a transfer of money from the impulsive to the disciplined. That's the truth no one wants to face. Not in their first week, not in their first year, sometimes not ever. But it's real because 90% of traders lose, not because they're foolish, but because they're chasing the wrong goal. They think trading is about spotting perfect patterns, unlocking hidden codes, beating the market. But the market isn't something you beat, it's a mirror. It reflects back who you really are: your habits, your discipline, your fears. And that reflection, it doesn't lie. Most people lose not from bad setups, but from bad behavior. They click buy on hope, they hold on denial, they exit in panic, and the cycle repeats. But here's the moment that matters: the realization that changes everything. If the market isn't the enemy, if the indicators aren't the problem, then maybe, just maybe, it's you. And that's powerful, because if you're the problem, then you're also the answer. This isn't a story about charts or candlesticks, it's about identity. And the moment you decide to stop trading like everyone else is the moment everything changes. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Imagine this. It's 9:29 a.m. You're staring at the screen, your coffee's gone cold, your heart's beating a little faster. You see a stock up 12% pre-market, volume surging, the chat room's going crazy. Someone on Twitter says, "This thing's going to the moon." You don't know what the catalyst is. You haven't checked the float, you haven't marked your levels, but something inside whispers, "Don't miss this." The bell rings. Ding ding. The stock shoots higher, and you click buy. For a second, maybe two, you feel like a genius, but then it drops fast. Your heart sinks, your screen turns red, you hesitate. Should you hold, add, exit? You freeze. And just like that, $500 gone. Then $1,000. You panic sell, only to watch it bounce back minutes later. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. It's how most traders start. It's how most traders end too. Because this isn't trading, it's donation, disguised as decision making. You didn't lose because the stock was bad. You lost because you had no plan, no defined risk, no exit strategy, no structured entry, only a hunch, a rush, and a hope. And that's the most dangerous position you can take in the market. Let's pause for a moment. Would you perform surgery after watching one episode of Grey's Anatomy? Would you fly a jet just because you've played Microsoft Flight Simulator? Of course not. Yet people enter trades every single day with no preparation, risking real money based on nothing but emotion and excitement. But professional traders, they don't hope, they prepare. They show up with a plan so detailed it feels like a military operation. Before the open, they already know which stocks are in play, why they're in play, where key support and resistance levels lie, their exact entry points, stop loss, and profit target, and how much they'll risk to the dollar. There's no room for guesswork, because in this game, hesitation is expensive, indecision is lethal. Let me tell you a story. Andrew Aziz, before becoming a successful trader, lost $6,000 in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Not because he picked the wrong stock, but because he had no structure. He jumped in on emotion. He traded what he felt, not what he had planned, and the market punished him. But that loss became his teacher. He realized that every trade without a plan is like playing Russian roulette with your account. And from that day forward, he changed everything. He built systems, defined rules, and treated trading like a profession, not a game. Because here's the truth: the market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you think something is going to break out. It doesn't care if you need this trade to work. It only respects one thing: preparation. A trading plan is more than a tool. It's armor against your worst enemy. And that enemy isn't the market. It's not the algos. It's not Wall Street. It's you. When the chart moves fast, when your palms start sweating, when your heart starts racing, you won't make logical decisions. You'll make emotional ones, unless you've already decided everything in advance. So ask yourself these three questions before every trade. Do I know my exact entry, stop, and target? Have I calculated my position size based on risk, not desire? Am I trading a clear plan or chasing a feeling? If you can't say yes to all three, You're not trading, you're hoping. And hope in the market is just another word for loss. Let's break this down even further. A proper plan includes setup criteria, what conditions must be met before entry, entry trigger, the specific price or candle pattern that signals your move, stop loss level, where you admit you're wrong, no questions, profit target S, where you'll take gains, no greed, no guessing, position size, based on account size and defined risk, pre-trade checklist, emotional state, market context, and news awareness. It sounds boring, it sounds robotic, but that's the point. Great traders are boring because they do the same thing the same way every day. They've taken the chaos and replaced it with clarity, and clarity breeds confidence. So instead of reacting, they respond. Instead of panicking, they follow protocol. Instead of praying, they execute. And that's what separates the professionals from the gamblers, because anyone can get lucky once, but only the prepared can win consistently. And in this business, consistency isn't optional, it's survival. So if you take one thing from this chapter, let it be this: don't click buy without a plan, ever, because every unplanned trade is a lesson waiting to cost you money. But every planned trade, win or lose, is a step toward mastery. The market respects one thing above all else: discipline. And discipline begins the moment you choose to plan your trades and trade your plan. Let me tell you a secret: the market isn't rigged against you. Your broker isn't out to get you. There's no conspiracy stealing your trades. The truth? Your brain is the real enemy. Every time you put real money on the line, your body doesn't just see numbers, it feels danger. Literal biological danger. Because when you risk a trade, your brain doesn't say, let's execute this rational plan. It says, this might kill us. Sounds dramatic, right? But science backs it up. Studies show that losing money triggers the same brain regions as physical pain. The same area is activated when you stub your toe or get punched in the face. That's why your hands sweat. That's why your breathing gets shallow. That's why you second guess the plan you were so confident in just 10 minutes ago. This isn't weakness. It's biology. Your ancestors ran from lions. You're trying to sit still while your account balance flashes red. And that's the catch. Trading isn't just about logic. It's about overriding instincts that once kept us alive, but now cost us money. Let me paint a picture. A trader sees a setup. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. He enters. The stock immediately drops. Nothing major, just a pullback. But the brain screams, danger, get out. His plan says hold. His ego says wait. His fear says run. So what does he do? He doubles down to average down, because if it bounces, he'll make it back faster. But it doesn't bounce. It drops more. And now panic sets in. He exits at max pain, swears he'll never do it again. Then tomorrow, he repeats the same mistake. Sound familiar? That's not a strategy issue. That's a human issue. The market is a feedback machine. It reflects back every flaw we carry: the need to be right, the fear of missing out, the inability to accept small losses, the addiction to being in the game, and it punishes all of them over and over and over again. But here's the shift. Professional traders don't feel differently. They don't have some magical absence of emotion. They just respond differently. Andrew Aziz still feels fear. He just pauses, breathes, and checks his plan. He doesn't react, he reflects. He still feels greed, but he doesn't chase. He reminds himself, pigs get slaughtered. He still feels revenge after a loss, but he doesn't double down. He walks away, because the space between emotion and action, that's where professionalism lives, and building that space, that's the real work of becoming a trader. So here's a tool you can start using now. Rate your emotional state. Before each trade, on a scale from 1 to 10, fear, greed, anger, excitement, if any of them are above a 7, don't trade, because the market will still be here tomorrow, but your capital might not if you trade while tilted. Let's talk about tilt for a moment. In poker, tilt is when emotion overrides logic. It's when a player loses a hand, gets angry, and starts playing recklessly to win it back. Sound familiar? In trading, tilt is the moment you break your rules, chase a breakout you know is extended, remove your stop loss, size up out of frustration. It's not rational, it's emotional, and it's always expensive. The market has no mercy for tilted traders. That's why self-awareness is your superpower. You don't need to eliminate emotion. You just need to see it before it hijacks your next decision. Because in the end, you're not just trading charts, you're trading yourself, your fears, your patterns, your identity. And every trade becomes a test. Will you follow your plan or your impulse? Will you honor your edge or chase excitement? Will you respond like a pro or react like a gambler? The difference is small in the moment, but massive over time. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think the key to success is more technical knowledge, more indicators, more strategies, more signals. But in reality, it's more emotional awareness, more patience, more discipline, more honesty with yourself. Because your edge doesn't live in your charts, it lives in how you respond when things don't go your way. And if you want to trade like a professional, you have to feel like an amateur without acting like one. That means accepting losses with grace, letting go of the need to be right, following your process no matter how you feel. That's the real game. That's the invisible battlefield most traders never conquer. But once you see it, you can begin to master it. And once you master it, everything changes. Because while others keep chasing setups, you'll be cultivating the only thing that matters, a mind that can be trusted under pressure. And in trading, that's worth more than any strategy on earth. What if I told you that most traders aren't failing because of their setups? They're failing because of their mindset. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Amateurs try to win trades. Professionals try to execute trades correctly. It sounds like a small difference, but it changes everything. Let me explain. Amateurs open a chart and think, will this trade win? They obsess over the outcome. They fantasize about the profit. They watch the P&L tick by tick like it's a slot machine. But professionals? They ask one simple question. Does this trade fit my system? They focus on the process, not the result, because they know you don't control the outcome, you control your actions. Think about it like this. A surgeon doesn't judge their skill based on whether a patient recovers overnight. A pilot doesn't question their training because turbulence shook the plane. Their success is measured by how well they followed their training, not by random variables they can't control. Trading is no different. It's not your job to win every trade. It's your job to follow your plan with consistency, especially when it's boring. And that's the real mindset shift. Trading becomes a profession when it stops being exciting. Let that sink in. Professionals are not looking for thrills, they're looking for repeatable execution. They aren't sitting around hoping for a big day. They're hunting small edges they can repeat over and over again, like a casino running the same odds 10,000 times. Let me tell you a story. One morning, Andrew Aziz saw his favorite setup, a textbook bull flag, volume surging. Everything screamed, go. But he hadn't slept well. 3 hours of rest, foggy brain, he felt off. The old him would have taken the trade anyway. After all, the setup was perfect, right? But the professional him paused and asked, can I execute this cleanly? Am I in the right mental state to follow through? Or am I just chasing what looks good on the surface? He passed, didn't trade, made $0 that day, but saved thousands by avoiding sloppy execution. Because a perfect setup with a distracted mind, still a bad trade. This is what separates the 10% who survive from the 90% who don't. They don't force it. They don't chase it. They wait until their system, setup, and mindset all align. Let me say it again. A good trade isn't one that makes money. A good trade is one where you followed your rules, win or lose. That's the game pros play. They think in samples, not single trades. Where amateurs get emotional about each outcome, professionals zoom out. They know one trade means nothing. 10 trades mean very little. 100 trades begin to show patterns. 1,000 trades define the edge. Let me give you an example. The amateur wins a big trade and feels unstoppable. Next day, they size up, break their rules, blow it all. The pro wins a big trade and feels nothing. They log the entry, review the setup, and prepare for the next one, like nothing happened. It's not apathy, it's emotional discipline. They've trained themselves to treat wins and losses the same, as data points, not identity. Because the moment you start tying your self-worth to your P&L, you've lost. You're no longer executing a system. You're gambling for validation. And that's when the spiral begins. You win and you feel invincible. You lose and you feel worthless. You chase, overtrade, and panic. Then you burn out. It's the emotional roller coaster that destroys traders faster than any strategy ever will. That's why pros build routines. They trade like machines. Same scan, same setup, same risk, same hours, day after day, week after week, month after month, not because they're robots, but because routine is the antidote to emotion. They don't wake up and feel like trading. They wake up and prepare to trade regardless of mood. It becomes a rhythm, a flow, a professional cadence. And in that consistency lies their freedom. Because the market doesn't reward intensity, it rewards reliability. So ask yourself this: are you chasing wins, or are you mastering execution? Are you reacting emotionally to every trade, or are you sticking to your edge like your future depends on it? Because it does. And here's the paradox: the better you get at detaching from results, the better your results become. When you stop needing the win, you start winning more. When you stop chasing perfection, you start executing with precision. And that's when the shift happens. You're no longer a person who does trades. You've become a trader, not because of what you know, but because of how you think. That's the transformation that matters most. Everyone wants the shortcut. They ask, what's the best strategy? What's the secret setup that prints money? What indicator do pros use? But here's the real answer no one wants to hear. You don't need more strategies. You need to master one. Just one. Because one strategy executed with clarity, repetition, and discipline is far more powerful than 10 strategies you barely understand. Let me say that again. One strategy, 1,000 reps, unshakable confidence. That's how pros are built, but most traders don't want that. They want novelty, excitement. They want to be entertained. So they try ORB for a week, then switch to VWAP reversals. Then they jump to MACD crossovers. Then they go back to Fibonacci. And after 10, 20, 30 trades that don't work, they say, this strategy sucks. And off they go, chasing the next shiny setup. But the strategy wasn't the problem. Their commitment was. You don't become a sniper by switching rifles every week. You become a sniper by firing the same weapon in training over and over until your body knows it better than your brain. Trading is no different. Let's take Andrew Aziz as an example. He made his career using just one setup for years, the opening range breakout, ORB. Here's how simple it is. Watch the first 5 minutes after market open. That range becomes your trigger zone. Wait for a breakout with volume. Enter on a pullback to the breakout level. Set stop loss below the range low. Target at least 2 to 1 reward to risk. That's it. No 10 indicators, no guessing, no overthinking. But here's what made it powerful. He didn't just use the ORB. He studied it, refined it, committed to it, fully. He didn't quit after 10 failed trades. He didn't abandon it after a red day. He executed it hundreds of times, and with each rep, something changed. He noticed which breakouts failed quickly. He learned how volume shifts the dynamic. He understood when to size up and when to stay small. He could feel the setup, not just spot it. After 100 trades, he had intuition. After 500, he had mastery. After 1,000, he had something few traders ever build: unconscious competence. That's when your fingers click before your thoughts do. That's when your body executes and your mind just observes. That's when you trade from flow, not fear. And that level, it only comes from repetition. But most traders don't get there. They abandon strategy after strategy, never committing long enough to master anything. And so they drift from method to method, always searching, never anchoring. The truth? You don't need more tools, you need to go deeper with fewer. Let me ask you something. Would you trust a pilot who's trained on 10 planes for 5 hours each, or one who's flown the same plane for 5,000 hours? Exactly. You'd trust the one who's seen it all: the turbulence, the engine hiccups, the landing and crosswinds. Same with trading. You don't need a high win rate strategy. You need one setup that you know inside out. One you've backtested on 100 plus charts, simulated on a demo account for a month, traded small size with discipline, reviewed obsessively with journal notes. That's where consistency is born. That's how edge becomes income. And here's the real magic. A mastered setup doesn't just make you money, it frees your mind. Because once the mechanics are automatic, you stop overthinking entries, you stop second guessing, you stop wasting mental energy on what doesn't matter. Now you can focus on execution. Now you can control your emotions. Now you can scale up safely. But here's where you must be careful. Even a mastered strategy fails if you change it every time. If your stop loss moves just this once, if you skip waiting for confirmation just this time, if you double your size because this one feels right, you've broken the loop. and the strategy is no longer yours. It's chaos in disguise. So here's the challenge. Choose one strategy, commit to 100 simulations, journal every trade, log every emotion, review every mistake, and don't touch another strategy until this one is automatic, because mastery isn't sexy. It's boring repetition with fierce intention, but that's where transformation lives. While everyone else is chasing the next indicator, you'll be building something far more valuable. Consistency through identity, confidence through process, freedom through execution. And in the end, that's what trading is all about. Not more tools, not more noise, not more guesses, just one edge, repeated until it's effortless. One strategy, one system, one path, 1,000 reps. Let the amateurs chase excitement. You're building a foundation that lasts. Let's talk about something most traders ignore. Until it's too late. Not entries, not indicators, not secret strategies. Risk management. Yeah, I know, it sounds boring, like the fine print at the bottom of a trading book. But here's the truth no one tells you. Risk management isn't the boring part of trading. It's the only part that actually makes money. You could have the perfect strategy, flawless entries, beautiful setups, but without risk management, you're just a gambler with better vocabulary. Because here's what separates professionals from the rest. They don't think in terms of how much they can make. They think in terms of how much they're willing to lose. Let that sink in. Every trade starts with one question. What's my risk? Not how much can I win? Not what if it keeps going? Not can I double my account this week? No, just this. If I'm wrong, and I will be wrong, how much will it cost me? That's the mindset of survival. And in trading, survival is profitability's first requirement. Let's make this real. Andrew Aziz doesn't risk more than 1% of his account per trade, ever. That means if he has a $10,000 account, he risks $100 per trade. If his stop loss is $1 away from his entry, he takes 100 shares. Simple math. No guessing, no emotion. Risk with stop distance equals position size. It's not fancy, but it works, and it saves him over and over again. Now let's look at the amateur. They say, I'll buy 1,000 shares. Looks good. They don't check stop loss distance. They don't calculate position sizing. They trade based on feel, and when it goes against them, they freeze. They hold. They hope. They average down, and what could have been a $100 loss becomes $1,000 in minutes. They didn't break their strategy. They broke their discipline. That's why most traders don't blow up from a bad system. They blow up from bad risk habits. But here's the good news. When you predefine your risk, everything changes. You feel calmer. You make better decisions. You stop overtrading. Why? Because you know, win or lose, your downside is controlled. That's power. That's freedom. That's how professionals think. Let's talk numbers. If you risk 1% per trade, you can be wrong 5 times in a row and still only be down 5%. One good trade with a 2-to-1 reward to risk brings you back. Now let's flip it. You lose 10% on one trade because you didn't use a stop. Now you need 11% just to get back to even. And if you lose 20%, you need 25% to recover. The math of recovery is brutal, and it's completely avoidable if you manage your risk like a pro. Here's what real traders use. Max risk per trade, 0.5 to 1% of account. Max loss per day, 2 to 3%. Daily circuit breaker, when that limit's hit, you stop trading. Period. No exceptions. They don't try to make it back. They don't take one more shot. They shut it down and come back tomorrow. Because the goal is not to win today. The goal is to still be in the game next week, next month, next year. And when you respect the rules, the market starts to respect you. Here's the mindset shift. Losses are not failures, they are expenses. Controlled, calculated, expected. Just like rent, just like tools, just like fuel for a business. You don't cry over a $100 planned loss. You log it, you learn, you move on. Because you're not just trading, you're running a trading business. And businesses don't survive on hope. They survive on numbers. So let's simplify everything. Step 1, decide how much of your account you're willing to risk per trade. 1% is standard. Step 2, measure your stop distance in dollars. Step 3, divide risk by stop distance to find your position size. Example, account $20,000, risk 1%, $200, stop distance 50 cents. Position size equals $200, price 50 equals 400 shares. That's it. No emotion, no guessing. Just clean, calculated execution. And here's the bonus. When every trade risks the same amount, you stop getting emotionally attached to individual outcomes. You're not thinking, this one has to work. You're thinking, this is trade 78 out of 1,000. Now you're thinking in probabilities. Now you're trading like a casino owner, not a tourist. But there's one more rule. You only size up when risk goes down. That means you add more shares when your stop is tighter, not when you feel more confident. That's the counterintuitive brilliance of pro-level risk management. More size, more control, not more risk. And that's what keeps traders alive through the drawdowns. That's what makes small edges profitable over time. That's what separates the reckless from the consistent. So the next time you think about buying more, ask yourself, have I calculated my risk? Do I know my stop distance? Am I risking the same percentage I always do? Because if you're not managing risk, you're not trading, you're donating. Again, the edge is real. The strategy works, but only if you protect your capital long enough to let it work. So build your risk rules, follow them with religious discipline, and watch what happens when survival becomes your first priority. You don't need to swing for home runs. You just need to stay in the game long enough for the math to work. And that's how wealth is quietly built. There's a strange irony in trading. Most people are willing to risk real money, money they've worked months or even years to save, before they've proven they can win without risking anything at all. They click buy with shaky hands, cross their fingers, and hope that the chart will reward them. But let me ask you something. Would you step into a boxing ring after watching a few YouTube highlights? Would you fly a commercial jet because you once played Flight Simulator? Of course not. So why do traders think they can walk into the financial markets, risk thousands of dollars, and succeed without ever practicing? Here's the truth most people ignore. Simulation is not weakness, it's intelligence. Andrew Aziz knew this from day one. Before ever trading with real money, he simulated over 500 trades. Not because he was scared of losing, but because he understood what the game actually requires. Competence, not confidence. Because the market doesn't care how excited you are. It doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care if you have a feeling. The market only responds to execution, and execution comes from repetition. See, simulation is your training ground. It's where you make mistakes without outbleeding money, where you test your edge and build your confidence without consequences. But the problem is, most traders treat simulation like a toy. They overtrade, they use unrealistic size, they ignore stop losses, they treat it like a video game, then act surprised when live trading feels like a completely different beast. They didn't train for the real thing. And the truth is this, if your practice is sloppy, your performance will be too. Simulation, when done properly, creates a kind of muscle memory. You start to feel the rhythm of your setup. You see the trade before it fully forms. Your hands move instinctively, placing orders, managing stops, locking in profit. Not because you're guessing, but because you've already done this 100 times before. It's like a musician repeating the same scale over and over until it becomes effortless. Or a pilot rehearsing emergency landings in a flight simulator until muscle memory takes over. That's what you're building here. Not just knowledge, but automatic competence. And something powerful happens after enough repetition. You stop hesitating. You stop panicking. You stop making decisions based on emotion because you've already experienced the scenario in a controlled environment. You've been stopped out before. You've chased entries and paid the price. You've exited too early, too late, too scared, too confident. And because you felt all of that in simulation, where it costs nothing, you no longer flinch when it happens in real life. That's what happened to one of Andrew's students. She spent 3 months trading in a simulator. Every day, she treated it like it was real. Same account size, same routine, same emotional awareness. She journaled everything. And when she finally switched to live trading, she was ready. Not because the market had changed, but because she had. She didn't panic. She didn't hesitate. She simply executed because it wasn't new anymore. It was just trade number 501. That's the beauty of simulation. It removes the fear of the unknown, and it transforms pressure into familiarity. But the moment you treat it like a shortcut, the moment you rush through it, thinking it's something to get past instead of something to commit to, you sabotage your foundation before you even start. Trading isn't about skipping steps, it's about mastering them. And simulation is where mastery begins. So if you're just starting out or if you're trying a new setup, ask yourself honestly, have you tested this enough to trust it? Can you execute it without hesitation? Can you manage it without emotion? If the answer is no, the solution isn't more real money. It's more reps, more study, more practice, because the market will still be there tomorrow. But your capital, your psychology, they might not be if you jump in before you're ready. You don't need to prove yourself with cash. You need to prove yourself with consistency. And consistency is born from repetition without risk. So take the time. Simulate until it's boring, trade until it's automatic. Build the foundation that will carry you through the storms ahead. Because this isn't a sprint. It's not about quick wins. It's about preparing for the long haul with discipline, with patience, and with the kind of training that never lies. You can fake confidence, but you can't fake practice. And when the bell rings tomorrow morning, the market won't ask how badly you want it. It'll ask if you've trained for it. There's a truth in trading that almost no one talks about. It's not exciting, it doesn't sell courses, and it won't make you popular on social media. But it's the truth that every consistent trader lives by. Success in trading is boring. Let me say that again. The road to real, sustainable, life-changing profits is paved not with adrenaline and chaos, but with discipline and routine. But most people don't want that. They come into trading looking for excitement. They crave action. They want to feel alive. And for a while, the market gives them exactly that. The rush of a fast breakout, the thrill of doubling their money on a single trade, the euphoria of catching the perfect reversal. But that rush, it always comes with a price, because what starts as excitement quickly becomes addiction, and addiction leads to inconsistency, and inconsistency is death in this game. Andrew Aziz figured this out the hard way. When he first started, he chased action. He jumped into every mover. He overtraded, oversized, overestimated himself. He won big and lost even bigger. But one day, something clicked. He realized the traders who lasted, the ones with seven-figure accounts and 10-year track records, they weren't the most exciting people in the room. They were the most predictable. Same wake-up time, same scanners, same strategies, same rules, same exit plan, day after day, week after week. They didn't chase drama. They followed structure. Aziz began to mimic them. He built a routine so consistent it felt like meditation. Wake at 5:30, scan the market, plan the trade, execute with focus, shut it down by 11 a.m. No all-day stress, no revenge trades, no FOMO, just clean execution and quiet profit. And that's when everything changed. His account started to grow, slowly at first, then exponentially. His confidence solidified, his emotions leveled out, because he finally stopped treating trading like a thrill ride and started treating it like a business. Here's the paradox. The more boring your trading becomes, the more exciting your life can be. Because when your process is stable, your results become stable. And when your results are stable, you gain something most traders never find: freedom. Not just financial freedom, but psychological freedom. Freedom from stress, from noise, from chaos. But to get there, you have to embrace the monotony. You have to fall in love with the daily grind, opening the same charts, marking the same levels, waiting for the same setup, managing the same risk. You have to be okay with not being entertained, because the amateurs, they'd rather lose dramatically than win quietly. They want fireworks, they want stories. But the professionals, they want results. They want consistency over excitement, clarity over chaos, process over prediction. So here's the hard question. Are you trading to be entertained, or are you trading to be free? Because you can't have both. If you want freedom, the kind that compounds day after day, month after month, until your account starts to buy you time, location, and peace, then you have to commit to boredom. Because real success isn't about hitting a home run, it's about hitting singles every single day. It's about showing up when it's hard, sticking to the plan when it's tempting to deviate, taking the small win instead of gambling for the big one. And yes, it's boring. But you know what else is boring? Compound interest, sleep, healthy habits, consistency. And yet those are the things that build empires. So if your trading days are starting to feel predictable, if there's no drama, no adrenaline, no surprises, congratulations. That means you're doing it right. That means you're on the path. Because professional trading isn't supposed to thrill you. It's supposed to reward you, not for how smart you are or how risky you can be, but for how consistently you can follow your edge. And when you truly accept that, you stop chasing highs, you stop fearing losses, and you start becoming the kind of trader who doesn't need to guess anymore because you've done this so many times. It's no longer a gamble, it's a rhythm, a system, a quiet, powerful force you control. So forget the flashy screenshots, forget the hype, forget the drama. Real traders trade with discipline. And discipline, my friend, that's the most profitable asset you'll ever own. Every trader has one. That day, the day you look at your account and it's redder than you thought possible, a bad trade turned worse, a small mistake snowballed, a moment of hesitation followed by panic, followed by revenge. And before you even know what happened, you've erased a week, a month, sometimes a year of progress. It's the day where your confidence cracks, your plan gets thrown out the window, and your emotions take the wheel. It's the day that separates amateurs from professionals. Because every trader takes losses, even the best, even the disciplined, even the ones who followed their rules. But what happens after the red day? That's where the real difference is made. Andrew Aziz has taken those hits. Max loss days, gut punch trades, the kind that leave your stomach in knots. But he didn't blow up. He didn't spiral. He didn't try to make it back. Why? uh, because he had a recovery protocol, a clear step by step process to regain control. Not control of the market, because that's impossible, control of himself. It starts with one hard rule: when the max loss is hit, shut it down immediately. No one more trade, no maybe I can scalp it back, just screens off, no questions, because in that state, tilted, emotional, frustrated, you're not trading anymore, you're reacting. And the market, it punishes reaction. So as he stops cold, then he moves, literally, a walk, a workout, a swim. He knows that red days don't just sit in your account, they sit in your body. Your nervous system gets flooded, stress hormones, adrenaline, fight or flight responses. And if you don't physically process that energy, you carry it into tomorrow. You bring it into the next trade. And suddenly you're trading not to win, but to recover your ego. That's how red days become red weeks. That's how good traders disappear. So after movement, Aziz reflects, not emotionally, not with self judgment, just with data. He asks three simple questions: what went wrong? What went right? What will I do differently next time? That review is written down, documented, logged in his journal, because the goal isn't to forget the pain. The goal is to extract the lesson. Then he resets. The next day, if he's still mentally shaken, he doesn't trade, or he cuts his size in half. No ego, no rush, just rebuilding confidence step by step. And here's the thing most people miss: confidence doesn't come from winning, it comes from executing with control even after a loss. Because if you can stick to your plan when your emotions are screaming, when your account is bruised, when everything inside you wants to take shortcuts, that's when you become a real trader. A trader who doesn't just survive red days, but grows from them. And let me be honest with you, this isn't just about numbers, it's about your emotional capital. You see, trading isn't just draining on your wallet, it drains your mindset, your energy, your decision making. And emotional capital, it's limited. Blow it all in one day, and even the best setup tomorrow will feel terrifying. That's why recovery is so important. Not just to protect your account, but to protect your ability to trade again. So here's the mindset shift: red days aren't failures, they're tuition. They're the price you pay to learn, but only if you stop, reflect, and reset. Revenge trading, that's like dropping out of school halfway through the lesson. You paid the price, but you didn't the education. So the next time you take a big loss, don't just ask, how do I make it back? Ask instead, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? That's the difference. Amateurs treat losses like punishments, Hasenanklers. Professionals treat them like data. Amateurs internalize the pain, professionals process it, then move on. And you get to choose which one you'll be, because red days will come. They're inevitable. But what comes next? That's up to you. So build your protocol, write it down, make it automatic, and when the next bad day arrives, because it will, you won't freeze. You won't panic, you'll breathe, you'll follow the plan, you'll step away, reset, reflect, and then, like every great trader does, you'll come back stronger. There comes a moment in every trader's journey where the charts stop being just charts, where the wins and losses stop defining your mood, where the question isn't, will this trade work? It's, who am I becoming? Because trading, real trading, isn't just a skill, it's an identity. And until you shift who you are on the inside, you'll keep sabotaging everything you build on the outside. That's the part no one talks about. Most traders wake up each day with the same mindset. I'm trying to trade. I hope this setup works. I want to be consistent. But those words carry weight because when you say, I'm trying, your subconscious hears, I'm not there yet. And your actions will always align with your identity. If you still see yourself as an amateur, you'll act like one. You'll hesitate. You'll break your rules. You'll take trades that don't belong to your plan because deep down you don't trust yourself yet. But the moment you say, I am a trader, I follow my system, I manage risk with discipline, I learn from every trade, win or lose. Your brain listens, your behavior shifts, your standards rise. This isn't magic, it's neuroscience. Your self-image becomes the blueprint for your habits. That's why change doesn't stick when it only lives in strategy. Change sticks when it lives in identity. Let me show you the difference. The amateur wakes up late, scrambles to check charts, enters a trade out of FOMO, and then prays it works out. The professional wakes up early, follows a checklist, prepares their plan, and enters only when all criteria align. Not because they feel inspired, but because that's what traders do. It's who they are. A trader doesn't wing it. A trader doesn't gamble. A trader doesn't skip the journal. A trader prepares. A trader protects capital. A trader learns, adapts, and stays calm under pressure. So here's the question. Are you trying to trade or are you becoming a trader? There's a subtle but powerful difference. When you try, you still leave room for excuses. You allow yourself to quit when it gets hard. You trade on feeling. You break your rules just this once. But when it becomes who you are, the standard is non-negotiable. It's like going to the gym. If you see yourself as someone who's trying to get fit, you'll go when you feel like it. You'll eat clean until the weekend. But if you believe, deep down, I am an athlete, then everything you do reflects that belief. You eat with purpose. You train with structure. You rest with discipline. Trading is the same. You don't need more motivation. You need a new identity. And identity is built through actions. Every time you follow your stop loss, you cast a vote for the trader you want to become. Every time you journal a trade, even when it hurts, you reinforce that identity. Every morning you show up early, plan your day, and wait for your setup instead of forcing one. You're proving to yourself that you are the real thing. It doesn't happen overnight. It's built one action at a time, one decision, one recovery, one disciplined exit. Each moment is a brick. And over time, you're building something permanent. Your trading doesn't change because of one big breakthrough. It changes because you consistently act like the trader you want to be before you feel like one. That's the real secret. Speak the identity into existence, then live it into reality. Say, I am a disciplined trader. I respect my plan. I execute without emotion. I grow stronger with every trade. Not because you've earned it yet, but because you're deciding to. Every day, you're either reinforcing the old identity, the one that hesitates, doubts, and hopes, or you're building the new one, the one that commits, executes, and trusts the process. The market is undefeated in one thing. It reveals who you truly are. It doesn't care who you pretend to be. It doesn't respond to your dreams. It only reflects your discipline. And discipline starts with who you believe you are. So from this moment forward, stop saying, I want to be a trader. Start saying, I am a trader who's improving. I am a trader in training. I am a trader building consistency. That small shift, it changes everything. Because when you become the kind of person who does the hard thing, even when no one's watching, the market starts to take you seriously, and so do you. So the next time you look in the mirror, don't just ask, what strategy should I use today? Ask, who am I showing up as today? Because your account will eventually reflect that answer. There's a myth that still floats around in the trading world, the image of the lone wolf trader sitting in a dark room, one screen, one strategy, one genius mind. No help, no noise, just brilliance in isolation. Sounds romantic, doesn't it? But here's the reality. Trading alone will break you, not because you're weak, but because you're human. and humans are not wired to carry pressure alone, especially the kind of pressure that comes with trading. Because let's be honest, this game is mental warfare. You face uncertainty every single day. You battle fear, greed, ego, hope, and regret. You sit with losses that feel like failure and wins that don't always feel like enough. Now imagine going through all of that with no one to talk to, no feedback, no mirror, just you and your thoughts. It doesn't take long before those thoughts turn against you. You start second guessing. You spiral after losses. You think you're the only one struggling. You wonder if you're just not cut out for it. That isolation, it's a silent killer. Andrew Aziz experienced this early on. In his first year of trading, he locked himself in a room and tried to figure it out alone, and it nearly cost him everything. He was smart, disciplined, motivated, but without a community, he had no one to challenge his blind spots. No one to say, hey, your size is too big. No one to normalize the red days. No one to remind him, you're not alone. That all changed when he found his tribe, a real community, not a Discord full of pump and dump alerts, not a Reddit thread chasing meme stocks, a professional environment where traders shared plans before the bell, where they posted losses with transparency, where they celebrated discipline more than profit. And something incredible happened. His learning curve accelerated. His confidence stabilized. His emotional swings leveled out. Not because someone gave him better trade ideas, but because he was surrounded by people who lived the values he aspired to. That's what a real trading community does. It doesn't feed you trades, it feeds your mindset. It holds you accountable. It reflects your blind spots. It reminds you of who you are when you forget. And most importantly, it makes you feel like you belong. Because when you're around serious traders, you naturally raise your standard. When everyone's journaling, you start journaling. When someone posts a clean loss and says, stopped out, followed my rules, still a good trade, you begin to reframe your own losses. That's the power of proximity. You become your environment. So if your current environment is full of noise, hype, ego, and emotion, don't be surprised if you're stuck in the same cycle. But if you're surrounded by traders who value process, who lead with humility, who speak the language of discipline, you will grow faster, stronger, smarter, because trading isn't just a technical craft. It's an emotional journey. And on that journey, you don't need a guru. You need mirrors. People who reflect back the best in you, who call you out when you break your plan, who lift you up when you're down, who remind you that every great trader was once a mess, just like you. And even Andrew Aziz, after all his success, still attends his community's pre-market meetings. Not because he needs trade ideas, but because he needs connection. Because no matter how good you get, you never outgrow your need for support. You don't have to do this alone. You shouldn't do this alone. The market will test your patience. It will push your psychology to its limit. It will expose every weakness. And the only thing stronger than a good plan is a strong tribe backing you up. So if you're struggling right now, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're spinning your wheels alone, maybe the problem isn't your strategy, maybe it's your isolation. Find your people, find your structure, find a place where discipline is celebrated more than dollar signs, and watch what happens to your growth, because you're not weak for needing help. You're wise for seeking it. In trading, the lone wolf gets wiped out, but the disciplined trader who learns, grows, and heals with others. That trader survives, that trader evolves, that trader thrives. And now, here you are. After everything we've talked about, everything you've seen, everything you've felt, you understand now that trading was never just about patterns or technical analysis or finding some magical setup that works every time. It was never about the strategy. It was about you. It's always been about you. Your fears, your discipline, your mindset, your ability to show up with clarity, even when your emotions scream otherwise. Because the market isn't some mysterious monster you need to outsmart. It's a mirror. Every trade you take, every rule you break, every hesitation, every rush, every impulse, it all reflects who you are in that moment. And here's the hard truth. If you've been losing, it wasn't the market, it wasn't the indicators, it wasn't bad luck, it was you. But that's also the most empowering truth of all, because if you were the problem, then you are also the solution. You're not stuck. You're simply being invited to change, not just your strategy, but your identity. Right now, you stand at a crossroads, the same one every trader eventually reaches. One path leads to more of the same, more guessing, more emotional trades, more donations to the market. The other path, it's harder, less glamorous, more quiet, but it's the path of the professional. It's where your success begins, not with a winning streak, but with a single decision. I'm not here to play anymore. I'm here to build. Build routines, build discipline, build identity, build consistency. Because that next trade you take, that next entry you click, that could be the one. Not the one that changes your account, but the one that changes your relationship to the market. The one where you follow your plan even when it's uncomfortable. Respect your stop loss even when you want to hope. Walk away even when ego begs you to fight. Trade small even when greed whispers go bigger. It's not about the trade. It's about the person you become through that trade. That's where everything shifts because the traders who succeed long term, they don't win by force. They win by alignment. Their system, their psychology, and their behavior all speaking the same language. And when that happens, the market begins to reward them. Not with quick riches, but with something far more valuable: stability, freedom, confidence. Not confidence that they'll win every trade, but confidence that they'll survive every loss. And that is what separates traders who try from traders who become. So here's your challenge. Right now, today, make a decision, a real one. Not the kind you talk about and forget, the kind you act on. Wake up tomorrow, 90 minutes before the bell. Don't check your phone, don't scroll, don't react. Just prepare. Pick one setup, one that fits your style, your mindset, your edge. Simulate it, study it, trade it until it's boring. Risk 1% per trade, no more. Track every result. Log every emotion. Treat losses like tuition, not trauma. Treat wins like feedback, not fortune. And surround yourself with people who live the same values. Because you're not here to be excited. You're here to be consistent. You're not here to gamble. You're here to build. You're not here to try trading. You're here to become a trader. And becoming a trader, that starts now with the next decision, the next rule you follow, the next plan you stick to, the next boring, beautiful trade that says, I'm not chasing anymore. I'm creating something that lasts. So when the bell rings tomorrow, ask yourself, who's stepping into the market? The old you, driven by impulse, ego, and emotion, or the new you, calm, focused, prepared, professional? Because the market won't decide that for you. You do. Every click, every choice, every trade. And with enough of those trades executed correctly, not perfectly, but intentionally, you build something most people only dream of. Not just profits, not just charts, but control, confidence, freedom, one trade at a time. So now you know. This journey wasn't just about charts. It wasn't about systems. It wasn't even about trading. It was about you, your mind, your habits, your identity. The market didn't beat you. You beat yourself. But here's the good news. If the problem is you, then so is the solution. You now carry the most powerful tools Andrew Aziz and the best traders have ever shared. Think in probabilities, not predictions. Respect risk before you chase reward. Build habits before you expect results. Trade your plan even when it's boring. Show up like a professional before the profits ever come. Because the greatest traders aren't the ones with the fanciest indicators or the flashiest setups. They're the ones with the strongest discipline, the clearest mindset, the quietest consistency. And that trader, that can be you, but only if you start now. If this video sparked something inside you, a realization, a wake-up call, a desire to level up, then hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this message matters. Subscribe for more content like this. Subscribe for more content like this. Deep dives that go beyond the surface and help you master the mental game. And if you're serious about becoming the trader you're meant to be, leave a comment below. I am building the mindset of a professional trader because your journey begins with the words you speak, and your growth begins with the actions you take. The bell rings again tomorrow. Who will show up, the old you or the trader you're becoming? We'll see you at the next level.